Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, it is I, the one and only Tiana here once again, and I am back for the likes of the Maxi Toys videos. And ladies and gentlemen, welcome back for some more Let's Play of Sonic Colors for the Nintendo DS version. So, last time, we've essentially did manage to come across into Aquarium Park, and oh no, we actually did that particular level really dang good. Not only did we somehow manage to able to achieve not one, but 3 S ranks in Journey Forms within Act 1, Act 2, as well as the boss fight, and I'm gonna say, that was a very successful run, unlike the forms of how it does it in Planet Wisp, where I feel like it's just all over the place, when it comes to level designs and all that stuff. But regardless of everything else though, everything else checks out there. In addition to that, we somehow managed able to come across into Silent Laser Wisp, and of course, we somehow got ourselves the 5th Chaos Emerald, which appears to be the purple Chaos Emerald. And finally, most notably, we've also come across into even more missions. And in addition to that, we somehow bump into not only Big the Cat, oh goodness gracious me, but also Amy Rose. So yeah, we somehow come across into the rest of the cast from Team Rose, from the likes of Sonic Heroes and all that stuff, which I think is actually pretty cool. So anyway, today for this video is about the fact that we're going to be continuing things on throughout the game, and able to actually come across into is, in my opinion, is one of the hardest levels in the entire game, specifically the DS version of Sonic Colors in particular. That's what appears to be Asteroid Coaster. So because of that though, wish me luck I suppose, especially no wonder why, about the fact it's a good thing we somehow managed able to get ourselves a bunch of extra lives in the past few stages ago, not only for the sake of the fact that we actually come across into some extra lives by fighting several item containers, but it's also about the fact that with the ranking system, well, obviously that was about the fact that the good thing we somehow managed able to achieve the S ranks in, you know, the rest of Aquarium Park, apart from few exceptions, such as missions, for instance, because, you know, it can be pretty stingy sometimes when it comes to achieving the S ranks on missions themselves. So anyway though, so it may look like we actually stumbled across into ourselves the final Wisp in the whole entire game, to be more specifically the DS version of Sonic Colors. So yeah, it may look like we need to find a real one, such as right here, on the bottom right corner of this touchscreen right here. And straight to the point about the fact that this particular Wisp not give us any harm, but it may look like we can now able to actually learn the final move for specifically Wisp powers. So anyway, a few things I want to talk about is, before we're able to actually discuss upon the final Wisp we can able to actually discuss upon, today's date of course is the 1st of September today. Yes indeed, we've now on to the 9th month in 2024, such as we now on to September right now. So not only about the fact that we've only got about 25 more days to go until The Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom will be releasing on the Nintendo Switch, but also about the fact that we've only got about 23 more days to go until Disney's Epic Mickey Rebrushed will be releasing on multiple platforms, including Nintendo Switch. Actually, I'll discuss more about that particular game until whenever we dive right into the stages themselves in Asteroid Coaster, to be more specifically. So for now, we can now able to actually utilize the final Wisp power on the DS version, known as Violet Void. So as a result, we can now able to actually dive right into the levels themselves in Asteroid Coaster, and oh boy, like I said before, this is where the game starts to get a lot more difficult at this point. Well, I'm sure we'll try our best if we're able to actually access to Special Stage 6 in particular, especially concerning for the fact that after all we've almost done in terms of these special stages in this particular version of the game. So either way, let's get ourselves a really good boost start while simply trying to able to actually go for the countdown sequence and all that stuff. So here's the forms of Violet Void Wisp, and basically though you can able to actually suck up not only rings, but also other objects, including enemies as well. So, gotta think about it though, this is actually more likely a prequel to, let's just say Indigo Asteroid Wisp or something like that from Sonic Lost World. However though, just like the Asteroid Wisp, it feels a little bit clunky to control sometimes, especially noticeable if you're trying to get a lot more bigger. Chances are though is about the fact that your movements gets a lot more stiffer. So relatively speaking, that's as far as I can try to say about the forms of Violet Void and all that stuff. So anyways though, in addition to that though, is about the fact that I think straight to the point about the fact that we can also able to actually use the Silent Laser Wisp in Journey forms of an Asteroid Coaster as well in some sections. So relatively speaking, I was about the fact that, well, for instance, if we come across it to this point right here, obviously though, I get the feeling I don't think I can able to actually access to one of those paths, but that's okay though, because obviously though, I was about the fact that thankfully though, like I stated this before, that we got so many extra lives thanks to the ranking system in the past few stages, specifically in Aquarium Park. So relatively speaking, I was about the fact that I highly suggest you're able to actually achieve as many of those S ranks as you could, because you will die a lot in Journey forms of this stage in particular, because to me though, unlike the forms of how it does on the Wii version, including Sonic Colors Ultimate, the Asteroid Coaster never gives me any trouble on the console version, whilst unlike the handheld version, specifically the DS version, honestly it gives me a hard time. Speaking more specifically, not only for Act 1, but as well as Act 2 in particular, because now we actually come across into a point where, much like the forms of how it does it in Starlight Carnival, we do need to slide. So because of that though, and I think I do sort of forgot to mention about this potentially speaking though, but I'm also saying this anyway, is that as soon as you're able to actually keep on start running, basically though you have to press the R button at the right time, so just in case you can able to actually slide through several gaps. So, and every once in a while though, there's going to be a lot of instant death moments as well, much like the forms of how it does it in Planet West. Like for instance, we're about to get chased by this very weird skeleton thing right there, but if you get munched by him, that's instant death by the way. It doesn't really matter how many rings you somehow collected, chances are though you will die automatically if you manage to able to get hit by not only these little weird skeleton heads, but it's also with the forms of green lava as well. So yeah, I can totally see why about the fact that this level right here is extremely difficult, and don't even get me started on certain missions as well, which we'll get to once we're done with the forms of not only Act 1, but as well as Act 2, and even with Special Stage 6, and you pretty much know the idea of how I was expecting to try to say things like that. So, and also there might be a couple of times though about the fact that we have to force to use Violet Void for some sections. Well, I will admit though right away that when I first experienced this stage back in Journey forms of at the beginning of 2011 by the way, I don't suppose if you noticed, but I somehow got rage quit on this stage in particular, speaking more specifically though because of how the fact that there's so much going on around here. And yes, just like the forms of how it does on the console version, every once in a while though you can able to actually ride on these roller coasters, but here's the catch to this though, and that's what appears to be about the fact that, well, Act 1 is not that big of a deal, but as far as Act 2 is concerned, oh boy, you might see nothing yet. So either way, let's see how well, oh, we got the worst rank so far. That's just not great. Well, thankfully though, we actually got enough rings, so that way we can now able to actually go into Special Stage 6. So either way, I'm accepting this challenge, and hopefully we should able to get ourselves the blue Chaos Emerald this time around. So either way, now, when it comes to mentioning about the forms of how the fact that when it comes to relates to Disney's Epic Mickey Rebrush, yes, I did indeed try out the demo recently, specifically on the Switch version most likely, because my expectations might be a bit high when it comes to likely experiencing some motion control gimmicks here and there, specifically whenever you try to use the cursor to use not only paint, but also thinner as well. Unfortunately though, my expectations have now changed, all thanks to this particular change, and that's what appears to be about the fact that I can no longer use the cursor to able to actually aim well, all around the screen, especially concerning for the fact that I'm pretty much more accustomed to, you know, with the forms of Super Mario 3D All-Stars, for the likes of Super Mario Galaxy, for instance, that if you try to utilize with these Joy-Con controllers, specifically the right Joy-Con, basically though, you can able to actually use not only for the sake of trying to use the spin attack, but also with the forms of pointing the actual cursor to not only shoot star bits, but also collecting star bits as well. That's not the case this time around though for Epic Mickey Rebrush, and as a result I was a little bit disappointed, especially now we could have to deal with not only analog controls, but it's also about the fact that it actually contains the camera controls and around these maps of the same analog stick as, you know, trying to able to actually aim with the cursor. So yeah, I'm honestly have to admit it though right away, I'm probably not going to get the game anyway, mainly because no matter what though, it's about the fact that, again, my expectations has actually gone pretty high when it comes to able to revisiting Epic Mickey, but now on modern systems. But unfortunately though, I can't seem to able to get the game now, mainly because of this particular change I wasn't really particularly fond of. But I will say that the actual dash ability, when if you try to press the B button or something like that, I think is actually a cool idea, especially about the fact that now we can able to actually just walk a little bit slightly faster compared to the forms of how it does it since in the original version of the game or something like this. So, well, mind you about the fact that we still no longer have the Wii version now, mainly because of this stupid nunchuck problem as far as connectivity as far as this is concerned. Well, and also I'm not a big fan of this linear structure as far as this is concerned, because again, I'm pretty much used to with the forms of whatever I like to do, whatever I wanted to, when it comes to likely open world segments or anything else like that, because I'm not a big fan of the linear style progressioning, because unlike the forms of how, let's just say, Super Metroid, for instance, I'm usually a big fan of the forms of non-linear structure where it comes to likely tell you where you're supposed to go or something like that. And in addition to that though, I love discovering secrets where it comes to likely not only obtain certain secret items, but it's also about the fact that how you can do stuff when it comes to certain progressioning and stuff. So anyway, so as you can tell, we somehow got ourselves our glorious S rank for Special Stage 6. So yeah, everything else checks out there. So naturally, we've only got one more Chaos Summons left. But we'll save that particular topic until next weekend for specifically not only the 7th of September, but as well as the 8th of September as well. So anyway, let's go ahead and move on to Act 2 right now. So yeah, it's off to a great start so far when it comes to Asteroid Coaster, which it's probably not a great start, honestly though, because like I said before, it's about the fact that this is where the game starts to get a lot more difficult when it comes to level designs and stuff like this and all that stuff. So anyway, let's just hope about the fact that Act 2 will definitely not give us any much issues or anything else like that, which I might have spoke too soon on this point, especially because like I said before, we have to force able to use the Violet Void for certain points throughout the entire stage. So anyway, one of the subjects for this point for that matter though, that recently what I found out is that Inside Out 2 is almost catching up to the forms of the #1 spot when it comes to the best animated films, when it comes to highest grossing films of all time, when it comes to animated films related. So yeah, I very appreciate about this. And to make matters even better, not only did I recently pre-order the DVD version of Inside Out 2, but it's also about the fact that I've also recently pre-ordered Super Mario Party Jamboree recently. So because of that though, although I was originally able to mention something relates to Super Mario Party Jamboree, but let's just say, unfortunately though, that's not the case when it comes to this particular discussion, especially... Oh, that was not fair. I hate when things like that happens. That's like a retro video game thing. If you get hit, and then knock back and hit you to like the lava pit. I mean, relatively speaking, despite the fact that this game came out in 2010, so it might be still a bit retro style, kind of like gimmicks and stuff like that, and oh my gosh, this section really ticks me off so far, especially concerning for the fact that it's, you know, it's very difficult to control with the Violet Void and stuff like that, which I totally understand with the forms of how the actual gimmick works out to be, but again though, sometimes though, much like the Asteroid Coaster, specifically the Wii U version of Sonic Lost World, it is so difficult to control this thing sometimes. So, but regardless of anything else though, thankfully though, unlike the forms of how it does it for that, you know, Indigo Asteroid Wisp, that thankfully though it's not motion controls or gyroscope controls or anything else like that on the Wii U version, although thankfully on the 3DS version you can able to actually use the circle pad, but still it feels a little bit too flimsy for my liking. So either way, oh boy, something tells me though we might come across into even more dangerous sections right there, especially concerning, oh jeez Louise, oh that was close. I've almost died right there, but thankfully though I somehow, I totally forgot how to jump over there. Oh, jeez Louise, why is this level so hard? I totally get it about the fact that we've almost nearly at the end of the game, but still, it just feels a bit too much for me. So, anyways, let's go into this next. Oh my god, there's more? Although we got able to try to avoid his munching thing right there. Although if you get munched though, I'm pretty sure that's instant death as well. So because of that, jeez Louise, what is up with this level, man? But hopefully though, that's oh jeez Louise. Okay, I almost died instantly from that green pool of lava, and oh my goodness. Although every time whenever you do manage to equip the Violet Void Wisp, the music decides to slow down a bit. So yeah, that's as far as I can try to say about this, I guess. So thankfully we are safe for this point right here. Oh god, that was the luckiest dodge I've ever encountered. And that was also very close, because I was assuming about the fact that I'm almost gonna screw up right there. But thankfully though, I used the laser in the right times. So anyway. And by the way, every time whenever you go for those little fan blades, obviously though, it just forces you to be able to go in that specific direction, likely for up and down, left and right, and all that stuff. So that was worth mentioning for. Plus, not to mention though, is about the fact that this stage is actually very generous with us when it comes to obtaining several amount of rings. I'm guessing it's probably because, oh wait a minute, I don't think I can reach up there. Nope, I'll die again. Oh my days. Okay, let's just go and try this again, and thankfully though we somehow use the air boost on that specific spot, so naturally it'll make the process a lot more easier said than done. And there's going to be a lot of emphasis on crushing blocks here and there, just like the defaults of how it does it on some levels in Sonic Advance 3, specifically with Route 99 and Ocean Base and the majority of the levels in Sonic Advance 3 that has a lot of emphasis on crushing blocks you have to avoid. So, although thankfully though, this will be the only time we can able to actually stumble across into crushing blocks in this game though, thankfully though. So, that must have been said something, I suppose. So, oh my god, he's back again. And now there's actually two of them! Oh my goodness gracious. I don't know about you, but I'm pretty sure about the fact that this stage is going to give me a lot of like nerve-wracking experience right there. Well, I apologize for that particular tongue twist in the end, folks, but that's mainly because, yet again, the fly decides to show up again in my room again, so that's gonna be a little bit inconsistent sometimes. And yet again, we got the worst rank again, so yeah, I can definitely see why this level will bring us some very, very, very rough performance, especially how difficult this level can be. So anyway, not only we did somehow manage to able to take on the next boss, but before we do the next boss in the game, let's get into some missions. Oh boy, those missions in particular. Okay, so let's begin with mission number 1 right here. So I wonder what specific character we might bump into this time. I mean, after all, we've already managed able to come across into Rouge the Bat from the likes of the forms of Starlight Carnival. So yeah, I wonder what we're going to be bump into this time around. So, well, it looks like we might bump into E123 Omega. So it may look like E123 Omega has been surrounded by not only Orbot, but also Cubot as well. So, relatively speaking, I was about the fact that, well, it's hard for me to explain, because I know for a fact it's been about quite a few hours since I actually have last played this game for sure, after this very, very successful run of Aquarium Park. Like I said, there's so many times already, but that's just how I feel about it, I guess. So, oh, and by the way, something's worth mentioning for actually, and that's what appears to be about the fact that I've realized that when it comes to Sonic Generations portion of Sonic X Shadow Generations, that I did somehow manage to able to realize something, that Omochao's lines is actually re-recorded onto different lines this time around though, which I think is actually kind of swell. And to make matters even much more interesting than that, I'm pretty sure the voice sounds a bit different compared to the forms of how it does it in the original version of Sonic Generations. So, but I suppose that particular discussion can wait during at some point in a later time. So for now, let's take on the first mission in Asteroid Coaster, and it may look like we got able to go through. Oh jeez, we got to able to go for those wisps in the correct order. So, oh boy indeed. So, I wonder how that's gonna turn out to be. So, something tells me we got able to use the Violet Void Wisp at all costs. So, yeah, that's something. So, of course, it's gonna take place in, you know, this particular segment right here. Now, what I thought was a little bit easier for the sake of this particular strategy when it comes to trying to find any of those wisps in the correct order, despite the fact that you have to rush this, because obviously though we have to also try to deal with the time limit as well, because if the time runs out, you have to try this mission again, and every time whenever you do manage to retry the actual missions like this, basically though, I'm pretty sure that the wisp number order will be randomized every time whenever you do manage to retry the entire mission like this, so, but still, it's incredibly aggressive when it comes to difficulty like this. So, anyway, so if you try to able to go through here, thankfully though, those Violet Void capsules will respawn, so every time if you do manage to able to obtain one of those Violet Void Wisps like these ones, thankfully though, if you try to go off screen, obviously though, those capsules will respawn, so that's obviously a good thing, but still, it just feels a bit too much for my liking, so either way. Alright, so I wonder where the last... Oh god, I'm almost out of time. Alright, so... Yes, best advice you're able to actually just to let the lock-on cursor shows up, and as a result you can able to actually get the Violet Void Wisp, no problem, but it's just about the fact that I have no idea. Are you kidding me? 3 D ranks in a row! I can totally see why this is gonna be pretty rough. Well, at least we can able to redeem ourselves if we come across into the next boss fight coming up, but I'm afraid to tell you that can wait for a little long while, especially considering of how the fact that, well, I totally get about the forms of how the fact that, like I said before, we're nearly at the end of the game basically, but still, it's just a little bit, it feels a bit, well, too much for me. So anyway, so now we're done with mission number 1 right here, and now let's move on to mission number 2. So I wonder what objective we can able to do this time. Well, I suppose we'll find out if we somehow bump into yet another familiar face. So I wonder what specific character we might bump into, I wonder. Oh, Keanu. Oh, I'm sorry, Shadow the Hedgehog. I'm sorry if we're a little bit so obsessed with the 3rd Sonic movie coming up, but either way though, I'm still really excited for Sonic the Hedgehog 3, plus it's mainly because, obviously though, Shadow's now on the big screen, especially concerning, well, it wasn't until for about 4 months time that we will definitely see a lot of action-packed scenes and all that stuff, which I'm sure that Sonic fans, including myself, will be a lot more excited to see not only Sonic and Tails and Knuckles returning to the big screen, but as well Shadow the Hedgehog is going to be on a big screen for the very first time. So I'm sure about the fact that both Ray the Flying Squirrel, in addition to Maxie has already mentioned about this so many times already, during the course of it, you know, the current Let's Plays we are currently doing on, you know, with the forms of The Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening remake on Switch, as well as, you know, Luigi's Mansion 2, so yeah, that's as far as I can say about it. So anyway, so as you can see, the next mission we're about to be doing with right here is to defeat all these enemies right there, so, and once again, we have to use the Violet Void Wisp at all times, so just to ensure about the fact that we have to deal with these specific level layouts like this, and okay, don't mind C, better than D, that's for sure, but still not great though. Well, thankfully though, that mission goes by a lot faster than I was going to, especially concerning about the fact that unlike the first mission, that I will admit though, sometimes it might take a bit while to try to find some of these numbered wisps or anything else like that, so that's sure it's something, so, but nothing, I repeat, nothing compared to the 3rd mission that we somehow unlocked, and it's also the final mission in the whole entire game actually. So yeah, wish me luck, especially considering for the fact that out of all of the actual missions in the DS version of Sonic Colors of how this game actually has to offer, this is without a doubt the hardest mission I ever have to go through. Although, potentially speaking though, we somehow bump into not only Shadow again, but as well as E123 Omega again. And thankfully though, there's no Orbot or Q-Bot to be found around here this time around. So, we might able to actually figure out something about the forms of what's going on. So, let's see. Oh no, this is what I was on about. That's what it appears to be, completing a stage within a time limit. And then of all the actual missions of this game actually has to offer, like I said before, this is without a doubt is the hardest mission I've ever have to go through. I get it, this is the final mission in the game, so as a result, yeah, you have to go through Act 1 again of Asteroid Coaster, except now with a restricted time limit. So, and also, you have to go up, by the way, as you can see right there, because chances are, though, if you go onto the lower route, chances are, though, you will gonna fail the mission a lot. So, as a result, there might be a couple of times about the fact that you need to be fast on the beginning portion of this particular Violet Void section, and as a result, no matter what, though, is about the fact that, believe me, you always have to able to stick around with the you know, some alternative paths you have to take, because no matter what, though, is about the fact that in this particular mission itself, that you have to be fast as well. So generally speaking, though, I can totally see why that a lot of people seem to found this mission incredibly impossible to complete. Not only about the fact that you have to go for a lot of instant death moments again, but it's also about the fact that if you mess up one wrong move, you have to start all over again, and as a result, you're not able to go for a lot of trial and error involved. So, yeah, this is virtually impossible. Well, nowhere near as bad as compared to the forms of how it does in one of those boss fights in Sonic Superstars, once we get to that game soon enough. Well, it won't be necessary for this year in particular, but definitely next year for sure to me, though. Just because no matter what, though, like we've already established that before, that we now on September, so this means about the fact that we've almost nearly at the end of 2024, and also not to mention, though, is about the fact that we're still in the process of going through not only Luigi's Mansion 2, but as well as The Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening remake on Switch. So no matter what, though, oh jeez Louise, thankfully the spring did somehow showed up. Unlike the forms of how it does it from before, it never turns up. So either way, so yeah, that's as far as I can say about it. Although, then again though, I was expecting to also try to mention something related to the point where the fact that you notice about the fact that there's also some other bunch of announcements they somehow brings us into, not only for the likes of ND World, but also at the forms of Nintendo Direct Partner Showcase. Well, let's just say, enjoying at some point, that maybe either Maxi or Ray the Flying Squirrel will mention more about those, and so whatever they go back onto, not only Luigi's Mansion 2, but as well as the forms of The Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening remake for sure. Oh jeez, did I just somehow mess this up? Oh my god! What a save! Especially with that particular laser wisp right there. Oh, that was actually really good. Are you kidding me? That's 4 D ranks in a row for Asteroid Coaster itself. You know what? Screw this. I'm not done. I'm not giving a flying feather about. I don't care. I don't care. Okay then. Anyway, so we now ended up in this secret room of any sorts, although apparently though it's the exact same room as what Dr. Eggman is working on. So generally speaking though, it's about the fact that we might able to actually give us certain clues about the fact of what's going to be coming up, until likely later on though, that is. So anyway, also I just want to classify for mentioning about this as well. I'm pretty sure we've only got 1 week left until the Paralympics for Paris 2024 is about to be concluded until next week. Although despite the fact I didn't follow that much of Paralympics, unlike the forms of how it does it on the regular Olympics to me though. Plus it's mainly because I'm still basically accustomed to how impressive some athletes actually turns out to be for certain people around the world. So that's the reason why I'm still basically stick around with traditional Olympics rather than Paralympics to me though. I mean, don't get me wrong, I found it quite fascinating sometimes, but I don't usually watch those as much to me though, but that I guess. So either way though, yeah, that's it. That's all the missions in Sonic Colors on the DS, and well, some of them are a piece of cake, but some of them are tough. Like, for instance, we've already completed the 3rd and final mission in Asteroid Coaster, and let me tell you, I'm not gonna go back into that mission ever again. Especially although we did somehow manage to able to get all the red star rings, that's something I suppose. But when it comes to achieving the S rank though, I'm probably not gonna accept that. So either way though, so yeah, it feels like that Asteroid Coaster is the worst run we've ever done, especially with all a lot of trial and errors involved. So anyway, hopefully we can able to redeem ourselves with the next boss fight. So either way, and I believe something tells me about the fact that we actually need to homing attack onto its weak spot where that yellow spot was. So And of course, we got able to avoid that particular asteroid right there. So, and we can just boost that and use the Violet Void Wisp as much as we want, and try to able to actually keep on hovering around for a bit and try to able to keep on aiming at this weak spot right there, and, you know, trying to eat a lot of scrap metal, which is pretty insane about the fact that how that Violet Void Wisp actually plays out to be. But anyways, let's go ahead and, oh jeez, I totally forgot about this little laser gun right there. And unfortunately we somehow died, so oh well, no big deal, because besides, the actual boss fight itself is also a piece of cake as long as you were able to actually use the Wisp power to begin with, and chances are though, hopefully we can able to, you know, still trying to redeem ourselves for the sake of time, so alright, so we can able to actually try to do the same thing as before. And hopefully though, everything else checks out there. At least I'm really expecting about the fact that we can able to get ourselves the only S rank on the Forms of Asteroid Coaster as the level itself goes. But either way though, we shall see. Alright, I think it's about time to use the actual, oh, I can able to hang on to that. Okay, that's actually something. So we can just, you know, try to do this, and, oh, is that it? Is that all there is to it? Okay then, yeah, that pretty much does it for Asteroid Coaster Boss, and oh wow, that was a one large mouthful with that particular massive, boss that we somehow ate. So, yeah, pretty swell. And would you look at that, we somehow redeem ourselves with the glorious S rank at the end. So, oh, that was quite of a roller coaster.
Tractor beams are gone. The planets are free.
Was there ever any doubt? I mean, really? Great job, buddy.
So yeah, all of the tractor beams are now completely gone, so that means every single planet is now free. So yeah, everything else goes all hunky-dory, right? Well, we still got one last thing to do, and much like the Forms of how it does on the Wii version, including Sonic Colors Ultimate, we need to able to get out of this particular place after experiencing some very rough D ranks and all that stuff. Like seriously though, about the fact that I just had a worse time on the DS version of Asteroid Coaster. Unlike the console version, I somehow managed able to have my enjoyable time with it, so it feels a bit opposite when it comes to like enjoyable experiences as far as this is concerned. So anyway, so as you can see about the fact that, you know, every single change has been gone, so this means we somehow got one more additional level down there. That's what appears to be Terminal Velocity. So with that being said folks, is that we got the endings of this point right here. So join me next time for more of Let's Play of Sonic Colors for the Nintendo DS version. That's what appears to be about the fact that we go and do the next level, which appears to be Terminal Velocity. So I'll discuss more about that level until next weekend. So I'll see you guys until next Saturday. Later, fellas.